Meanwhile, at 5 minutes after the top of the hour, Governor Mike Huckabee joins us. The governor used to be on couches like this, but now he's out there beating the backwoods and the fields over in Iowa, New Hampshire, and, of course, South Carolina. Governor, welcome back.
Well, thank you very much, Brian. I missed the couch, but, gee, I'm going to enjoy the snow, the ice, and single-digit temperatures in Iowa all through January. I'll think of you often, I'm sure.
That would be great. It's time to put in the zipper lining. That's my suggestion for you. But, Governor, some good news we wake up to today, and that is that Ramadi has been liberated for now by Iraqi forces with U.S. presence certainly there. What's your reaction? What's your worry? What's your observation?
Well, it's a great, great piece of news for all of us, because the one thing that we have to do to defeat ISIS is take land away from them. It is in their narrative that they have to be able to acquire land, otherwise they don't have a caliphate. So when land that they have taken is recovered by those from whom it was taken, that's a big victory. And it's not just that the city has been retaken, but it's that they have lost land. And that's what we have to continue to do, because the more land they take, the more they can justify their existence, the more they can recruit. Start taking their land away, push them back. And by the way, this resolves refugee problems. When we clean up the neighborhoods where ISIS has taken over, we don't have to relocate Syrian refugees. Heck, they can go home. That ought to be the goal anyway.
Right. So that's what President Huckabee would do, is put a squeeze on them gaining ground in Iraq and Syria. But what about here at home? There's a new CNN poll that's trending this morning. It says more Americans than ever believe that the terrorists are winning, despite information like we just had about Ramadi being liberated. What would President Huckabee do here at home to ease those fears?
Well, I think you start by acknowledging that we are under attack and we're under siege. And it's not just by people who are in the Middle East. It's people who come here, and it's people who have grown up here and have been radicalized. And we have to acknowledge that that's real, and we have to attack it. We have to go after those who are being radicalized. We can't ignore everything from their social media. This is absurd. My gosh, if you go and apply for a job anywhere in America, your potential employer is going to look at your social media post. So if they're going to do that to check you whether or not you can work at TGI Fridays, honestly, I think it's perfectly okay for the government to make sure that we check out the Facebook post of somebody who wants to immigrate here, or look at social media and comb through it to find out if somebody's posting anti-American jihadist language on it.
Absolutely, Governor. Certainly this is going to be part of the conversation you're going to have in Iowa over the next month, with the caucuses coming on February 1st. You won those caucuses in 2008. Another candidate, Rick Santorum, who's in the race, won them in 2012. But this year, at the top of the polls are Donald Trump and Ted Cruz currently, with a month to go. What are they doing that you would need to emulate in order to move up in the polls in Iowa between now and February 1st?
I need to get all the media time that they're getting. If that happens, things will certainly be better. And that's part of the narrative that we've all faced, is that the more media attention, that drives poll numbers, that drives stage position, and that drives polling position as it comes to the electorate. But the good news is Iowa is a state where the voters, they don't pay as much attention to polls, they don't pay as much attention to money. And frankly, there comes a point, and they're probably there now, they quit paying attention to radio and television and mail pieces, because they get enough mail every day to give them a hernia. They get so many media messages that every single hour is filled with probably 34 minutes of political commercials. And so then it comes down to organization. One thing I'd point out, 5,000 people were surveyed by our campaign just a little over a week ago. 75% of those people hadn't made up their minds yet. 58% of them said they're not even leaning one way or the other. So historically, in the last two election cycles, there's been a 20-point swing from this point in the campaign until the actual voting. So I think some people are looking at this and not understanding the history of the Iowa caucuses very well.
So what's going on in Virginia is interesting because as we move on past Iowa, eventually I think any president is going to be successful has got to take Virginia. Well, when it comes to the primary, it's been noted that the Republican Party is pushing for anyone who wants to vote in Virginia in the primary, they have to pledge that they are Republicans. And Donald Trump has tweeted this out. Republican Party, Virginia has lost seven statewide elections, 7 times in a row. will not allow desperately needed new voters. Suicidal mistake by the Republican Party. What I butchered was essentially he's saying, let everybody vote because you want to get these independent Democrats to eventually be Republicans. Do you agree with Donald Trump?
Well, each state has different criteria. One thing you need to find out is if there is a registration for party. If there is, then people should be able to register even, you know, like a week before or a month before. But the states have to decide that. I wouldn't try to tell Virginia what they need to do in the Commonwealth. But I do think that it's perfectly legitimate in a primary to tell people you need to register with our party if you want to help pick our nominee. Because this is not a general election. This is a party process. The parties are picking their candidate to go against the other guy. And I think to say that there's got to be a registration, I don't have a problem with that. I would have a problem with it in a general election, but not in a primary.
All right, Governor, the Clinton campaign has said that Donald Trump treats women unfairly. They play the war on women card. Donald Trump says he comes back, turns the words, flips the script, and says Bill Clinton is fair game because of the Lewinsky scandal, et cetera, et cetera. You've gone up against the Clintons. What do you think about this? Because some pundits think that this could actually backfire on Donald Trump.
Look, nothing's backfired on Donald Trump yet. I'd put my money on him. He has, frankly, he's played the whole media game like a kid on Christmas morning with a toy drum. He's beaten the heck out of him. And I honestly don't think that this is going to hurt Donald Trump. Every time somebody tries to attack him, it comes and backfires on them. And I think the Clintons have some vulnerability here that
Governor, I think
Trump is seizing upon.
Well, okay, so you do think it's fair game to say hey, Bill Clinton was impeached because he had an affair in the White House and lied about it.
And even more so, is he a liability? Is he rather than an asset? So much of the mainstream media tells us that Bill Clinton's an asset. Is he really a liability for Hillary Clinton?
He's probably not, because he's still immensely popular with Democrats, and that's what this process is right now. He's still popular with a lot of Americans. Frankly, after 7 years of Obama, a lot of Republicans would take Bill Clinton back, warts and all, just because at least he understood how to govern. He was not the kind of person who utterly demonized the other side legislatively. Now, Bill Clinton is a partisan. Most of us are. But he also had a history, and I think it was the fact that he'd been a long-term governor and understood how to govern. But, you know, when Newt Gingrich was Speaker of the House, he worked with him to get welfare reform, worked with him on other pieces of legislation that were good for the country. And I think there are a lot of people that miss that kind of functional government, which we don't have now. It's utterly dysfunctional, and people are just sick of it because what they've seen is their wages are down, their hopes, their opportunities have been falling, and they're a little tired of that.
All right, Governor, thanks so much. Governor Mike Huckabee, best of luck. I know it's going to be a sprint now once the holidays are over. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, guys.